It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Be sure to follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. And if you're not watching the show over there already, hit the subscribe on our YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Also, check us out on the listening platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast. Be sure to follow us there as well. And check out the description of each show. That way you never miss a video and you see all of our special links that we have for all of our sponsors. The Pirates actually did something. Not on the field. Well, kind of, almost. We're on the side of the field. But, man, I didn't actually ever think this day would come, but the Pirates moved on from Derek Shelton.
I knew this day would come. I was curious about, I think we just mentioned last week, which one do we think is going to happen first? And I said, I think it'll be Derek Shelton, but will it happen during this season? How bad do things need to get? I guess not winning a game in May is probably as bad as things need to get. That's our answer to what would need to happen. And with today being an off day, it seemed like a lot of people just thought this was going to happen yesterday. Great call by a lot of people, because people are like, oh, Derek Shelton managed in his last game. I guess because today's an off day, people just assumed hey, if they're going to do something like this, this is when it's going to happen. But yes, the Pirates move on from Derek Shelton, relieving him of his duties, and named Don Kelly the manager. Notice what I said there. No interim tag, which is interesting. Also, Ben Cherington saying nothing's been set in stone beyond 2025. He's just not going to carry the interim tag. But if it's just for the rest of 2025, it's interim. So it's just funny the way that this team does things. But either way, Donnie Kelly taking over as the team's manager. I know, don't get me wrong. Ben Cherington, to me, much more to blame for the situation that we are in than Derek Shelton, in my opinion. But that move isn't going to happen in season.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. You got the MLB draft, you got the trade deadline. Ben Cherington is going to be in place for those to take place. That's 100% the direction that, in my opinion, the team needs to go. First day of the offseason, fire Ben Cherington. But that wasn't going to happen in season. And as much as I'm saying Ben Cherington much more at fault here, I do think Derek Shelton certainly plays a role in why this team is as bad as they are. It's one thing to be bad, but I think you can see it if you're watching this product on a day-to-day basis, which I start out pretty much watching every game. It's just I don't end up getting very far into them. Just a lethargic product. I think they got to the point where they just didn't want to play anymore for this manager. And that happens. You see that, whether it's because of the lack of results or whatever it might be, at some point they just tune that out and you will see that product suffer. And I think that that's the point that we got to with the Pirates, where they were just showing up on a daily basis, not playing for their manager anymore. Because it's one thing to be bad, it's another to not even show any level of compete.
Yeah, and I think that that's fair from the players too, because I feel like at some point the stuff this manager is saying that he's been saying for the past several seasons, it just turns hollow. So you stop believing in it. And I just feel like the Pirates have, like you're saying, lost faith in Derek Shelton, didn't really have anything to play behind. And so whenever you are not playing for a manager that you are bought into as a player, your play is going to suffer from that. And I think that another thing too, and I thought about this whenever I saw that he was actually moved on from and thought about us talking about it, is how many times did we say that the Pirates just do not play baseball well, but not just from a wins and losses standpoint, but from a fundamentals of the game standpoint. And obviously they're big leaguers. You should expect them to know what they're doing. But at a certain point, if it is a consistent thing that they just do not fundamentally play the game of baseball well, at some point I feel like that responsibility would have to fall back onto the manager. That goes to Derek Shelton's hands. And another thing, I just feel like this was a sinking ship no matter what. So obviously Derek Shelton wouldn't have helped anything. And you kind of alluded to that too, where Ben Cherington's probably the bigger problem anyway. But there's got to be some change at some point if you're going to right this ship in any form or fashion. And Derek Shelton, like we talked about last week, was going to be the first to go in all of that. They actually do that. Is it the right choice? Yes. Is it the choice that's going to turn around the Pirates, though? No, I don't think so. And I don't think anybody's kidding themselves into thinking that this is going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference. I just think that it's probably nice for a majority of people to see some actual change within the organization, especially in-season change, which isn't necessarily all that common with the Pittsburgh Pirates. But also, this is the first domino potentially to fall. And Ben Cherington said, and whether you take his comments to heart or not, that how he's ultimately more responsible for this than Derek Shelton was. Ben, I agree with you. I think you should be fired too. But I don't necessarily think that's going to be coming on the horizon just yet. But the fact that we got to this point where Shelton is fired during this season, I don't really think that it matters at all, really, what Don does during the season as the interim, not interim manager. I just think that at a certain point, if it continues to happen, Ben Cherington should be looked at too by Bob Nutting. And Bob Nutting, again, whether you address his comments with any sincerity or not, that is up to you as the fan. But the fact that they made the move shows that they at least know they had to do something. And so from that standpoint, Bob knows if this continues to go further, at least I would hope Bob knows that the next place that he should be looking is who's sitting at the GM spot.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like, for as little faith that I have in the Pittsburgh Pirates, I think it's going to happen. I think Ben Cherington will be relieved of his duties at the end of the season. I know I'm projecting a little bit far out right now, but it's pretty much unimaginable for me to think they can turn this around this season. And I think that that's what would need to happen for him to save his job. I don't see it happening. So now, whether or not I have faith in them finding adequate replacements for these two positions is a different conversation. But
how much do you actually play into the non-interim tag being thrown onto Don Kelly's name? Like, do you actually think that matters at all, or are they actually going to? You think they'll actually make a managerial search come the next off season?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's nice for him, right, to not have to. But it's not like they were going to fire him and have a third manager in the same season. So, like,
yeah,
whatever. I don't really care whether interim is attached to it or not. But he's going to be a part, in my opinion, of the next search anyway. Like, I think that he's going to get it, depending on how this season goes, I guess, could tell that story. But assuming it's not like just a complete disaster that somehow gets worse, I think he could still be within the mix for the next manager. The only thing that I would have had a problem with, right, is if this was the case and Ben Cherington didn't say immediately that this is just for the rest of 2025 and no, the determination's been made. If they were just strapping this manager title to him and saying he's now the guy moving forward without interviewing anybody else, that is what I would have had an issue with. I like Donnie Kelly. I think there's a chance that he could be a very good manager. Is he the right guy right now for the Pirates? I'm not sure. Let's see what this team looks like with him at the helm. If there's an energy, that's the biggest thing that I'm looking for, I guess, right now, is just like some type of spark. And I know that they're not going to be good, but at least like not so lethargic like what we've seen lately. Like there's got to be some type of boost in morale. I would like to think from this change occurring. So that's what I need to see from a Donnie Kelly led Pirates team to make me feel like he should even be a candidate. Is let's see what the rest of the season looks like. Let's see if they can own in at all anymore on the fundamentals of this baseball game, and see what type of energy level they play with on a night-to-night basis, because it obviously hasn't been there. That's why we're talking about this right now. But I don't know. The common sense part of me says Donnie Kelly's probably not the guy, but I'm willing to see what the rest of the season looks like with him at the helm.
It'll be interesting to see how the players respond. We talk about it in other sports, especially like hockey. You can kind of relate this, at least in a longer term sense, to what an in-game change of like a goaltender could do for a team in the NHL. Like, how is the team actually going to respond from this? Are you going to see any improvements? I just find it hard to believe that the Pirates overall are going to have this magical impact based off of Shelton being gone. And ultimately, just because Ben Cherington did not build a good baseball team. So from a season-long standpoint, I just don't think that it's going to have much of an impact. The one place where I'd like to see it have an impact is in just like the individuals and the players. Like if we can see some better individual performances, then I would be more encouraged about Donnie Kelly and what he could bring as the manager. But from the season standpoint, forget talking about the season. The season's gone. I just went back while we've been talking, and I looked at when the last time, and I did this last week too, but the Pirates somehow have gotten even worse since we last spoke. They haven't won a game since we last spoke. So I went and looked about when is the last time 38 games through a season that the Pittsburgh Pirates have started a season 12-26 or worse. And you have to go back to whenever we were in 5th and 6th grade. You have to go back to the 2006 season, and the Pirates through 38 games started 11-27. And the funny thing is, inverse in how those records have played out, because not that the Pirates at all this season have played well, but they didn't have as bad of a record through 20 games as that team did. The other team,
I mean, they're on pace right now to be the worst 162 game season team.
Yeah. The other team, at one point they were 5-18 to start the season, but then they worked their way up to 11-27. So they started to win a few more games here and there over this stretch. I mean, the Pirates have lost how many? They've lost 6 in a row, and they've lost 10 of their last 12 games. That is where
they're only better than what, 2 teams in Major League Baseball right now, and one of those is a potentially historically bad Rockies team.
Yeah, it's not good, and that's why I think from an overall season standpoint, you're not
going
to
see the White
see
Sox, who were the historically worst last season. Like,
yeah, no, I get it, and that's why I'm saying historically, you're not, or season long, and from a big picture standpoint, you're not going to see anything out of this team that is going to make their season look better overall. I don't think that you're going to be able to bring anything from a wins and losses standpoint out of this squad, because it's just not built to do that. What I hope you see is players just start to individually get better in their games. And maybe if that happens, they might win a game or two where normally they wouldn't, but I just don't see any way possible that this team somehow becomes, I'm not even going to throw out the word good, but just like watchable. I still think they're going to be unwatchable.
No, absolutely. And again, Derek Shelton's the scapegoat here, if you will. Don't get me wrong. Definitely think that he's deserving of not being in the position that he was in. But, if he had a better roster, are we having this conversation right now? Maybe not. I don't know. But when you don't have the talent, I think that's where you need to be better. They talked about this themselves. They need to be better on the margins. That's where they need to be, like, the fundamentals of this game. They really need to own in on and be better at those than everybody else, because they don't have the payroll that everybody else does. Now, if they had the ability to go out and spend money and they had some game changers, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. The other thing, the person that we're talking about here being more to blame, like, this is really about Derek Shelton being fired, but I know that's the thumbnail, that's the title, that's what's actually happened. But to me, the failure is more so on Ben Cherington. And I'm starting to question, does this guy just love losing? Like, is he obsessed with losing? Like, 8 out of 10 years that he's been a GM, his team has finished in last place. And looking pretty good to do it this season. So everybody talks about the fact he won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox. This isn't Boston, pal. Like I am blocked by somebody. I can remember this conversation clear as day. Blocked by a producer at 93.7 because I said that Ben Cherington's the way that things worked in Boston are not how they're going to work here. What on earth has he done to prove? This was like 3 years ago. Prove that he should be the guy. Like we're halfway into the tenure at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't developed a single hitter. Didn't at that time. Still hasn't. 3 years later now. The one thing that you can give him credit for, I guess, is, he's found starting pitching. Still, the bullpen still has been a mess under him, but he's found some starting pitching. And one of those, literally, I could have been the GM to select Paul Skeens. It wouldn't have mattered who was the GM to select Paul Skeens. So I don't know. This has been, I don't know what other word to say. Disastrous, honestly. Like we thought that we should be coming out the other side of this thing at this point. But they're going to go from rebuild into rebuild, like unprecedented. There was no in between from the time that they've rebuilt to going right back into another rebuild. I don't know how they've done it, but they've managed to do it. It's impressive.
Yeah, that is something that only the highest skilled of GMs can do. If you're a good GM, you cannot rebuild your rebuilding team. Yeah. You have to make your team good in order to rebuild again. That's something that Ben Cherington, that's why he gets paid the big bucks by Bob Nutting. That's why he is able to keep his job, because he has found a way to rebuild on top of his rebuild. I wonder, like, what do you think someone like Neil Huntington thinks of the job that Ben Cherington has done in Pittsburgh?
I don't know that Neil Huntington thinks about Pittsburgh. Listen,
I mean, that's fair.
Neil Huntington, I was a Neil Huntington supporter for sure. Could always appreciate the fact, I mean, he would build a bullpen regardless of what resources he had. That bullpen was going to be very good. And I appreciate the fact that even though it didn't work out, he was willing to take that swing on the Chris Archer deal. Wasn't the right one to take, wasn't the right time to do it, but he took one. Maybe that move, and this is maybe giving too much credit to Cherington or Nutting or whoever, maybe that one move is why they operate the way that they've gone back. They've overcorrected at this point where they're like, yeah, we can't do that again. Like, that's not the way to think about it. I think that the process in terms of being willing to take that swing was correct. It just wasn't the player to do it on or the right time to do so. So I can appreciate the aggressiveness that he was willing to operate with. I can appreciate his ability to find the bullpen. It wasn't necessarily the greatest in terms of finding the hitters either. So I think that they could potentially be alike in terms of that. But with the financial constraints that were put on him, he was still able to create a window that we have not seen since. And a lot of people, I think, are going to argue, the economics of baseball are more in play now than they were back then or whatever. One of the greatest strengths, of anybody that's good at their job is their ability to adapt. Right? And we haven't seen that. And I don't know that we're going to see that. And I'd feel pretty comfortable saying that if you put a different GM in this position, they would attain a higher level of success than Ben Cherington, while still understanding, yes, they're not the biggest problem within the Pirates. That biggest problem isn't going away. But there's the ability to still operate within that, in my opinion, and be better than what they have been. It's the same thing at every level, right? Like Derek Shelton, who we just got rid of, he was a problem, but he wasn't a bigger problem than Ben Cherington. Ben Cherington's a big problem, but he's not a bigger problem than Bob Nutting. At the same time, each one of those could be doing more than what they've done.
And if you want to take that even deeper, Bob Nutting is a problem, but he's not as big of a problem as the financials of baseball.
Yeah, but you know what? Bob Nutting in the last CBA voted for things to stay the exact same way within baseball, and so did a lot of owners in clearly, because it didn't change. So they put this on themselves. You need more owners to, if they want to go forward, if they want things to change, if they want a different economic structure to baseball, more owners need to speak up. And I know that there's going to be the people that argue that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be, helping out the owners' pockets. It should be more money should be going to the players. Listen, if you're a fan of more than just Major League Baseball, you're watching a sport that is salary capped, and those players do just fine. The average player makes much more money within those leagues. The only people that are making less money is the top end talent. The 1% or less than 1% of that league of Major League Baseball is where the highest money is being paid to athletes. That's such a rare occurrence, obviously, within the sports world, that those are not the people that we should be thinking about within this, nor are really the owners. But as a fan that wants to be a fan, wants to be more than just a casual fan, I'm saying they've made me a casual fan. I want to be a bigger fan of the Pirates than I'm able to be because of the financial restrictions or financial setup that's in place. The Pirates can definitely spend more, but even if they did, I still don't think it's enough to be able to compete. So, yeah, you're right. It goes even deeper than that. But I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that at this point. As somebody that wants to be a bigger fan than I feel like I am because of the way that baseball is set up, I don't give a damn about how much money the owners are making. Like, I just want it to be a more competitive league all the way around, which I think a salary cap would do.
Bob Nutting could be the richest owner in all of baseball. And if the Pirates were competitive, I wouldn't care.
Mm-hmm.
That affects me none. Like, do you think I care how much, like, Fenway Sports Group or the Rooneys get? Because, I mean, clearly the Rooneys aren't spending anything. But do you really think that I care how much they get because it's a salary cap league? No. Baseball ultimately, and this is getting away from the whole point of really this talk kind of, but baseball ultimately is just flawed and they need to figure out the financials of it. But yes, the Pirates specifically, I mean, there's a lot of problems. They all go up, not down. Honestly, the players on the field are probably the least of their problems, even though they do tend to have some problems of their own, which I guess we could look into for a second, because the Pirates, seemingly everything good that we talked about last week, where we said, like, overall, you're probably not getting the best results from your groups as a whole, but you're having some players stick out. I feel like nobody stuck out this past week, or at least if they did, they stuck out in a bad way.
You give up 2 runs and you feel like the game's over. I mean, this starting pitching has such a razor-thin margin. I know we talked about the ERA last week, but I actually dug a little bit deeper. They're top half of the league in FIP. So, like, that goes back to, again, the fundamentals of the game. This team hasn't necessarily been good on defense even. Like, if you're going to pick out one thing you thought the Pirates are going to be good at, pitching and defense, obviously we felt like the bats were going to be a problem. But I know you're playing a lot of guys out of position. So I don't know that I would have said that I thought they were going to be better defensively, but I would have felt like they needed to be better defensively because I knew what they were not going to be offensively. So they're not good there. Like just all the way around. They averaged 5 hits a game in that Cardinals series. They scored a total of 4 runs. This is unbelievable. We talked about the idea of, I'm harping on him because he's the guy making the money. The year that Brian Reynolds is having is incredibly disappointing because of the year that O'Neill Cruz is having on the opposite end of that, kind of having a little bit of a breakout year. And it means absolutely nothing because everybody else sucks, including the highest paid player in Brian Reynolds.
Yeah, it's pretty
Joey
disappointing.
Bart's okay.
It's pretty disappointing to see what really both the guys that they've given contracts to have turned themselves into. I know that Cabrian's had the back issues, but the defense has still always been there.
The ball comes off his bat like a wiffle ball. T. Brian. Like, oh my God. It's just insane to me because he either hits the ball super hard and it's right at somebody, or it's like he's swinging like a bat that weighs 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
He's horrible. Point. He's horrible offensively. I mean, I appreciate the defense. And here's the thing about him, right? Like, you could throw him onto the Dodgers, have him hit 9th, and he's worth that contract just because of his defense. But that's not the case that we're living in. It's not the world we live in.
Yeah. I just think that the guys that are making money on this team are not performing up to the expectation. And that's a problem moving forward for the Pirates. Having Brian Reynolds regress the way he has over the last year and a half has not worked out for the Pirates at all. And that's why if there's anything that you could go against what the I guess why you're having a rebuild within a rebuild, it's because players that you thought could be panning out to turn around your original rebuild are not performing up to snuff, and so that's why you're having to rebuild your rebuild. Like I can at least, like, if you want to make that argument, I can hear you out on that, because nobody's really lived up to expectation, especially after they've given these contracts.
Yeah, I mean, but like, why? I think that's the thing, is like trying to figure out the root of why that is. In the case of Brian Reynolds, like, I don't know. I'm not saying this 100% it, because he's hit better in when we've had less talent or the same amount of talent on the roster surrounding him. But like, when you're hitting around, like when you have nobody hitting around you, it's what O'Neal Cruz is dealing with this year, right? Like, he's walking a ton because no one has to throw him strikes. Who cares if they put him on base? No one's going to hit around him. Brian Reynolds was the one that was dealing with that in past years. Now it's O'Neal Cruz. So, going back to Reynolds, if there's only one other guy that poses any type of threat within the lineup, how many like good pitches is he actually going to see? When I say good pitches, I mean good for the hitter. Like, I don't know. So Brian Reynolds has enough of a body of work for me to feel okay about the idea of him bouncing back. But the question is it going to take adding more, bats to the lineup to do so? Does he need more lineup protection than what we currently have in order to get back to that level of play? Or is it just, I know he was dealing with injury at the beginning of the year, that's why he was only DHing. Is that still playing into it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's bad. I just looked up the MLB runs per game as a team. Pirates are last.
They've been, how many times they've been shut out?
That I'd have to actually look at their game log for. I'm not entirely sure, but they have averaged 3.11 runs per game. Next is Colorado at 3.2. So the historically bad Colorado and the historically bad White Sox are still higher than you in runs per game than you are right now. I mean, it's just sad to see. That's really the main thing, is like, it's just they're a sad baseball team. Let me see how many times they've been shut out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times they've been shut out.
And that's just this month. No, I'm just kidding. That's for the season. But my God, it feels like it. If they score one run, it feels like a minor miracle. They got to be close to last in home runs too, right? Like, I feel like they don't hit any home runs. O'Neal has 8? I think that leads the team. I don't know if anybody else has more than 4, 5. O'Neal has 8. Reynolds has 5. Yep. Cuts 3.
Pirates are second to last. Toronto Blue Jays is last at 25. The Pirates
That's
are
actually
tied
surprising.
That's surprising. The Pirates are tied with the White Sox at 26.
Especially, didn't the Blue Jays hit 5 or 6 on opening day? It's in their last. Yeah,
they have 26. The Yankees are in first, and they have 62.
Jeez. Wow. They might have a guy that hits more. Like, Aaron Judge might have more this year than the Pirates as a team.
There's a good chance.
Oh, man. Yeah, things are very bad right now in Pirates. Pittsburgh sports in general are in a really bad place right now. I don't know if we've talked about that enough.
I think I said it. Was it last end of football season, or maybe mid Penguin season, which would kind of coincide with each other? I said it. This is at least in my lifetime, this is the worst Pittsburgh sports have been as a collective. I don't think it's even close.
Which, by the way, I think it's important to preface this. That just show how good the times we've had. If this is the lowest. Like, I don't want to make it seem like we're complaining and make it seem like, the world's fallen.
I'm complaining. I'm complaining.
But we've had it much better. We've had it much better than a lot of people for a long time, and it eventually comes time to pay the piper. It's just all at the same time, right? But the thing is with the Steelers, they're still competitive. They're still making the playoffs. It's just they're going through this weird phase where they're retooling while still being competitive, and it ends up with the same result at the end of the year, regardless. So
The Steelers
and then obviously-
are the Minnesota Wild of the NFL right now.
who was the team? Oh no, I brought up the Caps because what the Caps did, the Caps literally like rebuilt, retooled while still being relatively competitive. Like last year, they were a playoff team, but they weren't very good. And then look at how quickly they got back to the level they're at right now, where they were like the best team in the Eastern Conference. Like, I think we'll see if the Steelers can do that, because I think the Capitals are now better than where the Steelers are at. But my point was they remain to be the Wild is probably a pretty good example too of a team that was able to do that. But
I bring up the Wild.
Yeah.
Did you see the stat about the Wild that
No.
they are the only team in North American like major four sports that have made the postseason 8 years in a row and lost in the first round?
Oh. No, see, I didn't see that. Yeah, so that's a much better example then. Yeah, that's the Steelers right there. Yeah, actually, I feel like I don't know. I'm trying to think of which one's more impressive to accomplish, because like the Wild, it's a 7-game series. The Steelers is 1 game that they just can't seem to win. At the same time, they've been like such heavy underdogs. Like, it's not a surprise that they didn't beat the Ravens last year, the Bills the previous year, Chiefs the time before that. The one that I really look at, like, as to me, is why the drought shouldn't be. No, it's the Browns. Well, Jacksonville, but also the Browns.
Yeah, Browns
during the COVID playoffs here. Like that game, my God.
Well, the way that game started was just.
Yeah, we knew. First play. I knew it was over. But anyways, we're no longer talking about the Pirates, Derek Shelton, stuff like that. But I'm sorry, Derek.
Probably as it should be.
Derek, I'm sorry that I got to do this to you, pal, but this is how I got to transition it. The Pirates decided that Derek Shelton was no longer making the cut. Smitty from around the 412 here, and while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. All right. Well, let us know in the comments how you feel about Derek Shelton being fired. What else the Pirates need to do. If you're still even watching the Pirates, it's May 8th. And it feels like it's the dog days of summer that we normally get to. We do into every Pirates season saying, like, such a low bar, but we do into every Pirates season saying, hey, get us to training camp. They couldn't even get us to rookie camp.
I mean, you could argue they didn't even get us to the draft.
Yeah, that is very
like
true.
We were already checked out, and we were still 2 weeks away from the draft.
Yeah. Boy. Anyways, let us know how you're feeling about the state of the Pirates right now. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you were here on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from. If you're listening, go over to the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, go over to the listening platforms. And regardless of which one you are on right now, check out the description. We got a bunch of links to all of our sponsors. Already talked about Game Changers, obviously. Go to gamechanger.la, pick6.la, save yourself $10 using code AT412 at checkout. No, we don't want to talk about the Pirates a ton right now. New Paul Skeens design on the site, though. It's pretty tough. Tweet out a picture of it. Save yourself $10 when you use code AT412 on that or any of the designs over there. It doesn't just have to be Pirates or baseball. I'm just only bringing that up, obviously, because of the content of this podcast. Also over there, right above Tyler right now, Marcelo Electric, our friend Brandon Marcelo, a.k.a. Boots, his small business serving Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler County. Contact him, 724-614-0611 to take care of any of your electrical needs, commercial, residential, service calls, whatever you need, 724-614-0611. Go check out the Facebook link that we got in the description there. Show you a bunch of his work, how to get in touch with him, that phone number or an email address that you can contact. But yeah, go do that. If you're in any of those counties and need some electrical work, then I'm going to need to hit him up sometime here in the near future for something in my house as well. I want to get a new chandelier. So I think I'm going to have him do that based off the work that I've seen on his page. So good stuff. Again, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hit us up on all socials as well. We keep it pretty simple at Around the 412. Same name as the podcast. You'll find us on all the socials over there. Ours are on the screen right now. Zachary Smith, PGH, Weiler _Teeks 33. hit us up. Any questions that you got for a future podcast, we'd be happy to answer them on here. Until next time, for Smitty, for Tyler, this has been the Around the 412 Pirates show for some reason. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.